This is Christopher Sernaque hosting episode 23 of season 5 of the Current Topics in Science podcast. This podcast will address breaking scientific news in light of the origins debate and host interviews with scientists. Today we'll be learning about zombie viruses and bacteria and their part in an ongoing origins discussion. This podcast is available on the following platforms: iTunes, Stitcher, Google Podcast, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. Video recordings of the podcast will be uploaded to YouTube. Enjoy the podcast. Just imagine the setting. The night has reached its darkest hour. Your flashlight has been out for quite some time, and with each minute, your fear intensifies. They're outside, waiting, unable to operate the lock on the door, and unable to break it down. They've been waiting for you to run out of supplies and venture out into the world, where they'll come catch you in some dark corner. Who are they? Zombies, of course. Zombies are found in games like Minecraft, Terraria, or The Last of Us. They're also found in media like I Am Legend, both the book and movies, and The Last of Us. Again, apparently zombies are also found in ice. More specifically, scientists have just discovered more so-called zombie viruses in ice. The Smithsonian Magazine says scientists revived 48,500-year-old virus, setting world record. Margaret Osborne, the writer, says that scientists have shown that ancient zombie viruses frozen for thousands of years can reawaken with rising temperatures. In a paper posted on the preprint server bioRxiv in November, scientists detail how they revived several of these viruses from the Siberian permafrost. The oldest is a 48,500-year-old Pandora virus, which set a world record for the age of a restored virus. The article continued, all viruses the team uncovered infect only amoebas and therefore are not direct threats to public health, but they were still alive and able to replicate. These viruses are not the only viruses that have been found preserved. Another recent article says scientists have revived zombie bugs and viruses before that were trapped in ancient ice. One may have been 8 million years old. Business Insider reports, bacteria have also been pulled from ancient ice in the past, and in some cases, it's thought that they were able to keep thriving after millions of years underground. Scientists in the 2000s found a bacterium in ice taken from Antarctica. The tiny bug, called Arthrobacter roseus, was able to split and multiply in the lab, even though it was thought to have been taken from 8 million year old ice. Snopes summarized the findings by saying, the researchers aired concerns that climate change could pose a public health crisis by way of viruses that had been frozen for millennia resurfacing. These findings remind us of what is sometimes called the Dominion Mandate in Genesis, where it says that Adam was put in the garden to dress it and to keep it. The contemporary English version renders this verse as to take care of it and to look after it. However, besides reminding us that we should care for the creation that has been given to us, these findings also beg another question. How old are these samples in actuality? Is it feasible that such bugs could last for these numerous thousands, and in some cases, millions of years? Dr. Donald Batten, who received his PhD from the University of Sydney in the biological discipline of plant science, says that Lazarus bacteria, or bacteria revived from salt inclusions supposedly 250 millions of years old, suggests that the salt is much younger, or in other words, that the salt is not millions of years old. Michael Ord, who received his Master of Science degree in Atmospheric Science from the University of Washington, further comments on the matter of bacteria lasting for millions of years. He writes, one wonders how these bacteria and delicate molecules could survive long periods of time. It truly is astonishing that bacteria, DNA, red blood cells, bone proteins, etc. could really survive the vicissitudes of tectonics, heating events, water seeping through the rocks, and other geological processes for millions of years and remain alive. the evidence sits much more comfortably within the young Earth creation flood model. The bacteria and parts of organisms are really young, in other words, only a few thousands of years old, as scientifically expected. Indeed, there is evidence in the world of God that His word is true. For the invisible things of Him from the creation of the world are clearly seen, being understood by the things that are made, even His eternal power and Godhead. And to our listeners, thank you very much for taking the time to learn with us on current topics in science, where scientific discoveries are examined in light of the origins issue. Please share and subscribe to the Current Topics in Science podcast, and check out the description where you'll find the information on the current topic, more evidence for creation and why we should care for it, and a link to the Christ Jesus Ministries merch store. This podcast is available on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. Thanks again for listening, and remember, the truth saves.